What's up guys, it's Drac, and today we're doing some full auto nonsense. It's our top 5 Friday video, I guess. So, top 5 full auto Nerf blasters since the beginning of time. First we gotta get rid of those. Alrighty, so we will begin with not our 5th blaster, but the honorable mentions. It's a good place to start. So honorable mention number 1 is the Nitron. It gets points for being an insane full auto blaster when modified into being the Boom Nitron, which back in the day, HVZers was just strapping as many 9 volts as you could fit into the back end here and making it run. It works off one flywheel and just discs. Even stock, it was pretty sweet. The reason that it's an honorable mention though is because it's impossible to use these things effectively now. The discs are insanely expensive and the clips and discs are very hard to find. But back in the day, Boom Nitron's Vortex line was where it's at. Yeah! Our second honorable mention is the Mega Mastodon. Blaster is huge. This blaster is insane, and it's on the list because it's full auto. Shoots mega darts, so it fits right in with our weird caliber ammunition category, and the problem with it is A, it's heavy. It's a really heavy blaster. It's so heavy, in fact, that it came with a bandolier to hold it in the box. That said, it does a good job of throwing mega darts just full auto downrange at a reasonable rate of fire, and it's cool. But with each mega dart costing anywhere between $1.25 and 50 cents a pop, it's pretty pricey to load up all 24 rounds of the Mastodon and have it ready to go. It's also super impractical for war. I've tried it in a few SE&C battles and it always kind of disappoints me in my playstyle, so it doesn't quite make the cut. But there are plenty of full auto blasters that are super practical and a ton of fun. Let's get into the list. Speaking of bandoliers, this is the Nerf Vintage Wildfire. It comes to us all the way from 1999. This pre-century blaster has some sweet technology in the form of an air piston, which lets it get some pretty insane rate of fire at, of course, full auto. This is actually Nerf's first full auto blaster of all time, and it does an insane job at that. It actually puts up some pretty serious performance even for a modern blaster in that it gets about 5 darts per second. So I'll take my word for it. Let's fire off the full 20 rounds capacity. But before we do that, and possibly alluding to why it is so low on the list, we have to pump it a lot. Almost. Oh yeah. So this is the Wildfire. It comes in at number 5. Cost about 30 United States dollars when it was being sold, but back then, that was actually a ton of money for a toy. And rightfully so. It does some really cool stuff. Now, reloading takes forever. Which brings us to our next blaster. So coming in at number 4, we've got the Hailfire, the flagship.
It's not full auto.
What?
It's not. Single fire.
Holds 8 magazines.
Yep. Single fire. Like a big strife.
Like a... So coming in at number 4, we have the Chaos. I know what you're thinking, the Chaos is really expensive. It's like $80. It's a terrible Nerf blaster. It's like on sale right now, and it's an insane Nerf blaster. So the rival Chaos has quickly overthrown the Zeus as the king of the rival line. I know it's a little modern for an all-time list, but I think that this one's going to stand up. I've used it in IC Wars and it's just sweet. The ability to throw 40 rounds downrange rapidly and then quickly change magazines and reload is insane. It's so cool. Like, it's everything that makes other full auto blasters on this list great, but using Rivals ammo, which means that it's just a wall of high caliber balls flying at your opponent's team. It's just a lot of fun. And modified, you get rate of fires that can't even be touched by most blasters. It's insane how fast this thing fires and how much harder it will fire. So it's currently running on a 3S LiPo, which crazily enough, the stock motors can handle. And it does some pretty incredible things. So number 4, Chaos. That's balls to you. So coming in at number 3, we have the Nerf Dart Tag Swarmfire. And once upon a time, this was actually my HVZ loadout. The Swarmfire has a detachable stock, so it can be both a full auto pistol and a pseudo primary of sorts. It housed C batteries and it got pretty decent performance. Even stock, these were really cool because they were front loading, so they were easy to load in a scavenging type war a la SE&C, or even HVZ in some ways, because you didn't have to fumble with your clipazines. But also it just had a really sleek profile, it was killer to paint, and everything worked off of one trigger pull. I liked that it didn't have one rev trigger and then a firing trigger you just pulled and it went. I didn't like that it had a safety switch up top, but it was very easy to disable. So while this blaster was really cool and really good for humans versus zombies because it got Springer performance in a full auto package, it did one thing really well when modified. So this is what a modified Swarmfire looks like. Again, the paint job was really easy, it's just green enamel, but this is now running off of LiPo power, and with a little bit of a modern twist, the 2011 Dart Tag Championship Blaster becomes just a madhouse. So if it wasn't good enough for Sambo before and really just more of an HVZ close quarters blaster, doing this to it puts it in an entirely other league. So that's insane Springer performance at a very high clip. I love this thing. I need to take it out again. So coming in at number 2, we have the Nerf Stampede.
But Drac, when are we gonna get the Vulcan?
The Vulcan's a dumb blaster. Chains are ridiculous. So the Stampede is a full auto powerhouse. It's just an awesome blaster. It's Springer power with full auto potential, all powered by batteries, so no pumping, no nothing required. It's just insane, and it's magazine fed. Actually, it's the first magazine fed full auto Nerf blaster, and it does an insane job at that. It's really cool. It's so cool, in fact, that when this thing dropped during Humans vs. Zombies golden age, like late 2010, moderators across the country got together and thought it was going to break the game. Some games banned the Stampede before it even was released because they thought it would be too unfair to zombie players. That winds up being a huge joke when the Rapid Strike shows up later. But regardless, the Stampede for its time was insane. This was my personal Stampede back in 2010. I absolutely love this thing. It's actually got some serious battery rot, but it still is functional. I will never forget walking into a Batteries Plus completely ignorant of battery modifications at the time and just being like, hey guys, I need a battery. And they were like, okay, what kind? And I was like, the biggest battery you can fit in this. And they thought that I was dumb and sold me a $40 car battery, and it worked. That's how cool the Stampede is. It's one trigger pull for all actions because, again, it's a Springer actuated blaster, and you can see that through this really cool window here. So while the rate of fire wasn't super duper impressive, it was getting better performance than a lot of the other blasters on the field, particularly the unmodified ones. Because back then all you had to compete with was Mavericks and Raiders, like 2010. It was crazy, but performed relatively well. It had one safety here, and then you would flip it from safe to full auto, no semi-auto setting, a monster jam door up top, and it's pretty sweet. Even today, it holds up relatively well. It was groundbreaking at the time. It was actually optimized for streamlined darts and dart fit, so it might not be performing top-notch with these elites, but it did what you needed to, which was tag zombies at relatively close ranges in large hordes, and it was one-hand operable. I know that a lot of people, including my friend Bobo, would just cut off most of it, like here and here, and just turn it into a big pistol and dual-wield them. And back in the day, that was pretty insane, especially since you can't tell, but it weighs 7 pounds. This was really heavy for an HVZ blaster back at the time. It was like a sizable chunk of my body weight when I was sprinting across campuses running with this thing. And I don't remember if I used a bandolier for it or not, but pretty heavy, full auto, and again, brought us into this golden age of magazine-fed full auto blasters. Because reloading like that is sweet. So, can anybody guess what the #1 full auto Nerf blaster on the list is? I'll give you a second. Is it the Rapid Strike? So obviously it's the Nerf Rapid Strike. So in 2013, the Nerf Rapid Strike changed full auto forever, in that it did everything that the Stampede did, but in a lighter, better, cheaper package. So let's cover all of that. It weighs a whole lot less. It uses 4 C batteries instead of D batteries. Spoiler, C batteries cost less and use 4 instead of 6, so you buy less of them. So not only is the blaster cheaper to run, it was also cheaper overall. It costs only 40 United States dollars MSRP and has stayed that way for the last 3 years, with a lot of sales bringing it down to 20, 25-ish, but at 40 for the MSRP, it's actually 10 less than the Stampede in the first place. Now, it does a lot of incredible things with the stored energy potential of the batteries combined with the pusher mechanism allowing you to really snappy shot through these flywheels, which again, unlike a plunger, don't have to actuate each time, they just keep spinning. You get some pretty insane rate of fire. Now, stock, that rate of fire looks a lot like this. Wait a second, that's 2 full seconds to get up to rev. So again, stock, it's not the Wonder Blaster, but rate of fire of about 2 darts a second is definitely not to be scoffed at. Essentially, when all of those shots are consistent and moving through the same system, like a flywheel system like this. It's very, very efficient in terms of how it works, and because of that efficiency, you get some modded monsters out of it. And when I say modded monsters, I mean literally. This is the Nosferatu, and it is a monster. It's keeping the same actuating stock. There's really only 2 settings. It's either out or collapse, but underneath its super shiny 2K clear coat and Hydra graphics job, it's just a house of a Rapid Strike. With 180 motors, you get an even faster spin-up time, like that, and with a 180 for the pusher, you get rate of fire that looks a lot like that. That's a continuous stream of darts. That's no joke. That's almost 10 darts a second firing, sometimes faster, sometimes slower, depending upon the darts more than anything else, and the follower spring in the magazine. But it's a house. And that's why the Rapid Strike is #1 on the list, because of blasters like this. And this is not the only one. There are a few blasters of this caliber out there that just do the wonderful dart hose trick, where it doesn't really matter how fast your opponent is as a zombie, how quickly they roll, or how they dodge. Like 20 darts downrange in a second and a half is 20 darts downrange in a second and a half. The end. You can customize the Rapid Strike a whole lot. It was very special because it has all of those tactical abilities with the top rail, the front rail, the barrel attachment, and the area down here for foregrips and whatnot. You can make it look like anything else, and you can cut it down into nothing. People sometimes chop here and here and here to make a real pistol of sorts, but the Rapid Strike is easily the best full auto blaster in the Nerf lineup, not only now, today, 3 years after its release, but also of all time, just because of how versatile the platform is, how efficient the dart pushing box is, and how sweet just a flywheel setup is catering to the full auto kind of archetype. But it's a sweet blaster. The Rapid Strike is affordable, it's powerful, and it's really, really cool. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this top 5. If you disagree with my list, you're welcome to put a comment in the description box below letting me know how you would have ordered the list, or if there was a full auto blaster that I left out that you think needed to be on the list. But that's my list. It takes in a lot of different game types, it takes in a lot of different modifications, and it takes in a lot of experience in the hobby into account. I think it's a pretty good list. If you like this overall form of video, give me an idea for another Top 5 Friday. Let's do something else fun. As you can see, the workshop is full of stuff. We could make a top 5 about anything. Top 5 knockoffs, top 5 foreign blasters, top 5 melee weapons. Like, we could have a ball with it. So if you liked this, leave a like, let me know in the comments, and we'll get back to it next Friday. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Much love. Nerf on, Drac out.